So yes, this is an online compiler, so we can practice our code and we don't have to worry about things like our Visual Studio or NetBeans or whatever. Let me ask you, what is your Java IDE of choice?
NetBeans.
NetBeans?
Yeah.
Lucene is a NetBeans fan. I'm a
Yeah.
IntelliJ fan myself, but what matters is that, you know, they all work.
Yeah, they all work.
Let's see here. Interesting choice. So I'm trying to find the best phrasing for this. So FizzBuzz is a fairly, it comes off as a simple coding question, but it can absolutely mess people up. In fact, they have it on LeetCode. Yeah. So let's see how easily I can post this. It's gonna, oh, it allowed me to easily post this. I like it when life works like that. So given an integer of n, return a string array answer. We're not gonna do this part right now, but I will post this for you to see in chat, and I will also put it in our code later. Bull cow. Do you have a oh, I love this. I love this. Dylan's flexing with his Unreal Engine stuff, and I'm okay with that.
That's not my repository, but that is the game.
Oh, well, he's flexing with someone's stuff. Do you happen have you guys implemented GitHub in the BAS yet?
Yeah, I have implemented GitHub.
All right, fantastic. Yeah. I'm starting to get implemented now sooner in our program because it is the #1 repository, or I guess like portfolio for coders, right? Like you just send people there. This is the LeetCode version of this. I'll put it in chat and I'll also post it online later. But on a simple level, if something is divisible by 3 and 5, print FizzBuzz. If it's only divisible by 3, print fizz. If it's only divisible by 5, print buzz. And if none of these are true, just go ahead and print the number, right? So an example would be 1, 2, fizz, 4, buzz. And then goes all the way down till, you know, we get to 15. FizzBuzz. So let's start off here. How would you approach this?
So I think for me, this will be if else kind of approach. If the number is divisible by 3,
we'll just do this as a placeholder.
So if if n modulus 3 is equal to 0, open brackets, the curly braces, so I'll say if n modulus 3 equals to 0, then because if they're both divisible by 3 and 5, so if n is also divisible by 5, just inside, equal to 0, then I return FizzBuzz.
Return FizzBuzz. We'll go ahead just the way we're building it right now, because in LeetCode they absolutely want you to return something. We're just going to straight out print it. So FizzBuzz. All right.
Okay, so
And
that's
we
the
can-
first part, I think.
And let's test this out. Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and test it with this.
Okay.
Let's say, and I have this sinking suspicion there are more curly braces than I want, but we're gonna roll here. That goes here, that goes here, that goes here. That should work. And we'll just do an else just to print everything that doesn't qualify, right?
Yeah.
So we're gonna do. So run it. Oh, and you know why?
Mhm.
Because I messed up.
Or yeah. So, okay.
Interesting. What's going on here? So if I is mod 3, it's so let's see now. I'm going to go ahead and comment this out right now. I always
Okay.
like to see what's going on where,
Okay.
and because we could just be missing something here. In fact, I'm going to clean this up really quickly. As much as I like online compilers, the IntelliSense has spoiled me.
Yeah.
So mod 3 equals 0. So this is what you had starting out.
Yeah.
And I just want to see it print for all
Yeah.
that. So div by 3. Keep our code real clean. So it starts at 0. All right. So we got our mod 3, right?
Yeah.
And then let's take it to where you were at. If I mod 5 or and let's do this properly. Loop through. And because it's inside and div by 5. Doesn't hit FizzBuzz just because we need to crank this up a little bit more.
Mhm.
All right. So I see what's going on here. Do you see what's going on here? Why are we getting both of these? And we can even do this.
It's within the same curly brace.
It is within the same curly brace. That's correct. In fact, it's triggering this.
Yeah.
And then it's triggering that, right?
Yeah.
So, all right, that's looking good so far, but you're absolutely right. So we know this is your structure. So what do you want to do here? What do you want to tweak? We can remove, add, or remove anything.
So let's see. So the first if we can do and if it's modulus 3 equals to 0 and modulus 5, just put it on the same line.
And I'm assuming you want to move this
Yeah.
up here, right?
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. Let's see.
Let's just test this out.
Mhm.
That's looking good right now.
Yeah. Yes.
All right. What's the next step?
So let's go down. Let me see the structure of the question.
Mm-hmm.
Just scroll down.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, right,
Let's
right.
fill this
Yeah.
and move this up here, easier to read. This is
Yeah.
a big thing I do. I always try to keep the question as close to where I'm typing.
That's true. So what do we have? If I is divisible, so we can do the console the right line to be phase bus, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If else, so the next else, if yeah, so if I modulus 3, so we return the fees. Else if yes equals 0.
Oh, yes. Thank you. It was there in my mind.
Yeah. That should be phase, yeah. Else,
Oop, sorry, on me. All right.
else if I modulus 5 equals 0. So that should be buzz. We return buzz. Yeah, print buzz. Else I. So probably should try print that. Yeah.
Does that work for you?
I think so. I think that's the correct output.
It's the correct output, right? So divisible by 3. In fact, if we wanted to, just to better see what's going on here, we'll even do this. Get rid of this else, so we'll see it line by line. Oh. Technically this works on some level, but not exactly what I was looking for. But yes, that would work. In fact, that is the answer that they gave on Geeks for Geeks. Though and this is an honest question I have for anyone here and anyone else who might watch this in the future. Why can't we do this? And I want you guys to prove me wrong on this. So we're gonna go back to how it was here. So that's your response, and that's perfect. That's exactly what they wanted. What happens if I do See now, just starting right out. Fizz buzz, fizz buzz. Then and then I could always just do like still kind of get the same result, right? Am I missing anything here? Would I not get the same result in yours? And which one is more efficient?
I think yours has less. Which one has less lines of code? Yes, yeah.
I agree. It does have less lines of code. Which one's more efficient though?
Let's see.
And
I think
why?
it's yours because it prints. Mine prints 3 times. Yours prints twice, but with the FizzBuzz result, it consolidates for both 3 and 5, right? So it doesn't loop as many times, I think.
It doesn't loop as many times. Well, how I can make this more efficient? So in programming, one of the things is the most costly when it comes to processing is comparisons, right?
Yeah.
Yours here, I'd argue that I like yours better because why did everything go uppercase? I just learned how to do something new. Because in if else structure, as soon as you ping the one you need, it's done, right?
Yeah.
So here it was, as soon as if it was FizzBuzz, here it would take 2, it would have to compare twice in order to, yeah. And so because it's going to have to compare each time, and every time it loops, it's having to make those same comparisons. So it comes down to, there are all these different factors. In general, if else structures, if else structures are definitely a bit more efficient. Here it's going to be pinging them every single time, though. If we really wanted to try to be that person, we could technically do this. If I does not equal 30, in fact, I'm gonna be that guy. So at Amazon, and you've probably already seen this yourself, at Amazon, when they write code, they actually try to be as verbose as possible. They care less that, yeah, it's like all their code looks like it's a written book. They don't have a ton of comments because they would rather have your code speak for itself, right?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do this. Bool is 3 equals I mod 3 equals 0. Bool is 5. So here, by doing this, I can now straight out just say is 3 or is 3 and is 5. So it's not, right?
Yeah.
I'm just going to have it print.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to have it break.
Yeah.
So that way, as soon as it doesn't qualify, it's just going to move on. That
Yeah.
should hopefully reduce some of the cycles, keeps it a little cleaner, but this is getting a little tricky. What's more important is we're seeing multiple ways of doing the same thing.
Yes.
Yeah. And so here, if we run it, and again, is 3 and is 5. And as someone who has spent many hours trying to rectify my code, or it's like I changed a variable in one place and then didn't change it in another and didn't understand why none of my code was working, this is a lifesaver. you know the page, you know the page.
I do.
I say the true you truly know a programmer when they've had a story where they were up till either 3 a.m. because they couldn't not try to solve the problem, or they woke up in the middle of the night and they were like, I
know it's
that's it. So exactly. And let's see now. It is 3, it is not 5. Not break. It's not return. It should be break. It's just acting up on me. That's another thing about some of those things, are that it doesn't always work the way you want it to. So, but yeah, so that's FizzBuzz, and oddly enough, it will trick even a lot of developers up, because it's all about the structure in which you ask the questions, because you did it in the proper order. If you did your if else but you had put just is 3 by itself first, it would have broken the code. So yeah, you had the proper structure and everything. As you see, we could tweak it and do all this other stuff if we want to, but yeah, that's a great example. Now, having this at our disposal, do we want to try doing it in a different language?
What language?
Take your choice. We have JavaScript, we have Java, we have C++, we have Python. Let be your choice.
Let's try Python.
Let's try Python. And I'm going to take this with us just for fun.
Yeah.
So here we go. Have you done much Python?
No, just a little bit. So I know it's more statement-like. It's not like Java.
Is not like Java, but that shouldn't deter us. And I will let you know right now, since you're probably going to be my guinea pig on this one, is that I want you to get comfortable transitioning between languages.
Okay.
As someone who has, while I've never actually studied C++, I have tutored C++, because my strength is in Googling things.
Yes.
Yeah, it is very real. And then this is to call out to everyone who's watching this. And my TAs, if you want to chime in on this, what are the 6 fundamentals of all programming? TAs.
If statements, loops, conditions. Well, I said conditions.
Very good.
Methods.
No. That's more of a reusability thing, a conciseness thing. So you could technically go without methods. It would just be ugly. Inputs, outputs, loops, conditions, perfect, variables, and operations. All programming languages are based on this. Every single thing. And you'll always hear me say this, but that's how I approach learning anything in any programming. Because if you can figure out how to do these 6 things, you can learn a language in a weekend. Sure, there's some that are more complex. We'll even touch on C++ here in a second, but you'll still have the basics. What Dylan was referring to with methods is a method is, for anyone who might be in programming 1, just as a reminder, it's a way of consolidating your code so that you can basically attach a variable name and call it elsewhere, right? Code reusability, it's a godsend. But if you really, really, really wanted to, you could write an entire program without using a method. Now, I want anyone who's a gamer to imagine Witcher, like Witcher 3, as one long statement inside of main. and trying to figure out how to make that work.
Sounds impossible.
It sounds impossible. If you can make that work and you're in my class, I'll just give you an A. There you go. There's your challenge. So yeah. So these are the things we're working with. And to break it down, like when I'm talking inputs, outputs, we've already been doing it, right? Like our console write line is an output. It's just how we're outputting information. If you're in programming 1, you've been just displaying things with console. If you're programming 2, you've been displaying it to a GUI. But it's really like when you return things from methods, when you save data, you're just outputting the information from, you're translating the data inside of your method or whatever, and then outputting the information. Your input is the stuff that you're going to get and work with. So it's the same way console read line or clicking on buttons, events. If you're working on window GUI forms, if you're playing video games, when you press on a button on a controller, that's an input. And your character jumping on screen or shooting something, that's an output. That's a response to what you're doing. All of it boils down to those same things. We've been doing loops, conditions already, variables, and operations. All of that is already in FizzBuzz, and it translates to everything. So let's go ahead and try doing it in Python right now. It's almost going to be the logic. So the beauty of doing it in C# to start off with, because it was a language you were more comfortable with, right? And let me, I want to double check. How can I pronounce your name properly? Is it Denis?
It's just Dennis.
It's Dennis. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of Denis Villeneuve. And so I'm used to saying that, but Dennis. Dennis. So by doing C#, have you ever heard of pseudocode?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah.
we've got our logic down, right?
Yes, we do.
So let's translate it to Python. So if we already know that printing is literally print, and then it's just going to be whatever we want to type in, right?
Yes.
All right, cool. So let's move forward. Let's translate your code into Python. Where do we start?
So we have to figure out how to loop. That's the first thing, to loop through all the numbers.
Sure. And just to show how to loop in Python.
Mm-hmm.
See, for anyone watching, it's a little bit different than what we do in C#. But if we take a look here, this looks like it might be close to what we're looking for. A range starting at 0. Perfect. So I will let you guide me, Dennis. Go right ahead.
So do you mind copying that? Going back to the W3?
Oh, of course.
Yeah. So
Print,
okay.
copying and pasting as a coder? What's wrong with you? That's a joke. We all do it.
We all do it.
Yes.
So for, we can say for X in range 20. So that's how we're going to loop through all the numbers. And then we have to figure out the condition, how to do the if-else statements.
Yes, we do. Let me go ahead. I'm going to just put loop from 0 to 20. A reminder to everyone watching, always test your code every step of the way. Obviously, Dennis is more advanced. He's at 3rd year, so he's comfortable knowing this is going to work. If you're getting started, make sure you test along the way because things are prone to break. And if you have 50 lines of code, it's far easier to troubleshoot like a single for loop than it is to go through every single line of code and figure out where you're going wrong. So the heads up to everyone. But yep, this is perfect. And you were saying the next step is to try to figure out how to do an if statement in Python, right?
Yes.
All right. So it sounds like I'm going to ask a question. What question should I ask?
So if-else statement in Python.
It already knew. I like to choose, I'm not saying it's the end all be all, but it tends to just give me exactly what I'm looking for. So
that's true.
Yeah, we're just gonna go with this. I'm
So
seeing Elif.
Okay.
Elif. Exactly. And we'll just copy and paste this one right now.
Yes.
So for anyone else who hasn't done Python before, Python does not use curly braces. It uses indentation to know different code blocks. So that's why you're not going to see curly braces. You're just going to see colon, and then you're going to see indentations. All right, we're just going to handwrite this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
So
also,
yes. So I'll go if x modulus 3. I don't know if that's gonna work. If x modulus 3 and equals 0, and yeah, the same. Let's print that and see if it's gonna work.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
So if this does work, then the only time this is going to run is going to be if x equals 3. So if we run
Yes.
it, boom.
Yes. Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right.
So Elif. Okay, hold on. Let's put it on the same. Let's do and x modulus 5 equals 0.
Shall we test it?
Print. Yeah. So there's
Ooh,
an error. Line 17. Invalid syntax. So
what are you thinking?
shows it's a syntax error.
Syntax error, huh?
Yeah. So probably it doesn't work. Probably just need to do an elif for the 5.
Maybe. I agree with your first sentiment. There is something that is acting up. We need to figure out what's acting up.
Mhm.
And so let's do this. And in Python.
I see. Yeah.
Because if I recall, of
Mhm.
all the things that are the same, our logical operators are different.
Yeah.
It's literally the word
So
and.
it's and. Okay. Yeah.
It's those little tricky things. Like it's not huge, but when you first get started, it's like, why am I doing this? So,
Yeah.
So we're gonna go ahead and run it. That looks accurate to me.
Yeah.
So what's our next step?
So we have so we are printing if it's divisible by 3 and 5. So next we're gonna print fees if it's divisible by 3. So we go elif x modulus 3 equals 0. Print fees.
And you know what? Let's go ahead. I'm going to, because I know this is what you want.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's see. So elif x for 5 modulus 5 equals 0. Let's print buzz. Okay. You can try printing and see and running. Okay.
That's
all right,
looking pretty good.
So elif print x. So our last statement. So elif else.
You want to do else?
No, else. No, it's the last one, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So print x. Yeah.
You just translated it into Python. That
Nice.
didn't take too much, did it?
Yeah.
That's
that wasn't
awesome.
too bad. Yeah.
Yeah. And see, this is really a way that I start to learn, that I do start to learn a language, is that I take something that I'm comfortable in. All right, I know how to get this result in C#, in Java. How do I get it over to Python? How do I get it over to C++? A friend of mine years ago, she's studying plant pathology as their master's over in Kentucky, and they dropped her into to the flame. She has no coding background, and they were like, learn Python and then implement this program, and then so that way you can start manipulating data for her plant pathology thing. So she was like, well, why don't you just teach me? I hadn't touched Python before, but as a joke, I decided to quickly learn it. So in much the same way you just did, I translated it from took one thing in one language, translated it over, and by like hour 2, I had learned how to create classes in Python, and then I was creating a list of data for classes, and I had created a small GUI so that you could actually type in plant information and it would store it in this, just like in this like active program. And right now you could do exactly the same thing. You know how to do classes and everything. Unless you go into a functional language as opposed to an object-oriented language, it's going to be basically the same, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
Hey,
great.
sorry, what's a functional language?
That's
like what are some examples? Sorry.
No. Thank you for actually functional programming. This is very much, let me go ahead and find an example for you, because
I wonder if you can just do functional programming if you just use a programming language without any objects or classes.
we were just talking about like I threw out the challenge where if you could make Witcher 3 run all through main, no methods, no that thing like that, it's just all running through main, I'll give you an A in any of my classes. Would that technically be functional programming?
I don't know.
Functional program, it's really, it's a whole paradigm shift on a programming language. It's not about objects, it's about what these individual objects do, and then you attaching different methods and different things to them as you go along. There are ones that it takes a lot to get into, but it is arguably, and I mean it because the internet's full of people who are arguing, a more efficient way of doing some things. In fact, I believe Unity dots functional programming is a combination of work together, data oriented. It's a way, it's crazy efficient. Like if you can figure out how to do it, functional programming is a lot faster. It's not the way we've been doing it. And so it is, I don't have the best answer for you right now because I don't have the most fleshed out answer for you. I will be honest.
Oh yeah, no worries. I just heard the term functional programming and I was like, hey, what's that?
Yeah, no, and I'm glad you asked. Because in the future I will help you answer that question. Is in the process of building software by composing pure functions, avoiding share states, mutable data, and side effects is declarative rather than imperative. Well, there's your answer. I hope that all makes sense now.
Okay, so just our application just flows through pure functions. All right, makes sense.
Yeah, everything has a purpose. Not everything is an object, but everything has a purpose.
But we can have objects as data though in functional programming.
Yes.
Okay.
They're more like data classes at that point where you're just bundling information and moving it around. And I absolutely see the point, because not everything needs to have like methods and everything associated with it. I would say if you want to build your skill sets in the future, take a look into functional programming. If you really want to blow Nasser's mind, I want you to go in swinging and start doing things in functional programming. And I will answer for you guys. So, but yeah, that is a great question. And now really quickly, before we move on here, I would like to show not really the next step, but just show how it really does translate to everything. This is Python, looks great. C, I honestly have not done C++ anything in a while, but just to show the same results. This funkiness is how you do basically a print or a console.write line, but you do it in C++. And anyone who hasn't touched on C++ before, this is I believe it's the lower level language. I forget which tier goes up. Where C# is considered that really easy to get into language that offers a good balance of functionality and ease of readability. Python is far more English-like. Instead of console.write line, it's just print, things like that, right? C++ is lower level. It is a bit more complex. The biggest difference, I would argue, there's no reason to even argue over it. The biggest difference is memory management. Does anyone here know how C# takes care of memory management?
It's automatic, isn't it?
It's automatic trash collection. It's the best thing in the world. What that means is that when you have when you're dealing with your variables, especially instanced objects, and let's say you switch off of it, you change the reference to an address of an instance object, so nothing's pointing to it anymore, it's still chilling there in your memory. And so what happens is C# automatically goes through, takes a look at your memory every, I don't know how often, and we can't control that. But it'll be like, hey, this isn't in use anymore, and it clears that place in memory. And that's really important, because if you didn't have trash collection coming along and doing things like that, it actually stays in memory until your application closes. And if you've ever had like memory leaks or anything like that, and your program's just closed, or you're running a program and it chugs to a standstill at some point, that is because your memory hasn't been dumping that trash. The thing is, because you don't have any control over when trash collection comes, it's not as efficient as it could be. C++ puts all that trash collection into your hands. Whenever you reallocate memory, you need to make sure to say, hey, this thing, I want to get rid of it. I want to dump it out with the trash. Otherwise, it just stays in there. But because it's that little difference is not really such a little difference, it is so helps performance so much that I always say Unity, you can write games in C#, but you write the engine in C++. Unreal Engine uses C++ as their main language, besides their Visual Node Blueprint language, which is its own thing. That's one of the really big differences. There's other more nuanced things to it. It takes a couple more steps to do things in C++ over C#, but that's because you don't have this additional layer to help make things more efficient for humans, but it's better for the computer, kind of thing. So that's why you're getting something like this instead of our glorious console.write line. That wouldn't work, or print, that wouldn't work. But if we were going to make this work, same thing here, for in C++. Thank you, W3 Schools. This is looking awfully familiar. For loop looks almost exactly the same. We're going to go to 20. We're going to take our output here. And I just want to make sure that I can print I first. So ooh, it did not like me, and that's fine. So, and we can see how to go to next line here. It's giving us some syntax. In fact, this is perfect. I am just going to keep this for now.
I think you have to include std at the top in order to not have that in
I
front.
mean, like this?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh, it's in one of the namespaces. I don't remember which one std is in.
I know exactly what you're talking about, and I agree with you. We're gonna go ahead. We'll just kill this. So what as you were saying namespace, what exactly is a namespace?
It's like the class that it all belongs to, kind of.
It's like kind of like a collection of code, right? Just
Mhm.
like, yeah, it's a larger scale collection of code. There we go. Mod 5.
Are we in our second language since I've been here?
Yes.
Okay.
Welcome, Hannah. Hannah's another one of my TAs. I have an army of TAs.
Hello, people.
Hello.
Keep me sane.
Nobody's
Oh, it's
talking
using
to me.
namespace STD, I think. I'm sorry.
Excuse
anyways.
me? You're what?
I don't think you need the hashtag. Yeah, just using namespace STD. At least that's what it says online.
Oh,
We're going
No,
to
using
try to-
namespace STD.
Oh, namespace.
And then it
Yeah.
has a semicolon at the end.
All right.
That's how it has it on Geeks for Geeks. I could be crazy.
We're all crazy here. It works.
Sweet.
It works. Perfect.
what is that line on line 2 include IO stream? Are you writing something, like saving something?
IO stream. That's where this like the C out stuff comes from. Input output streams. It goes a bit beyond what like you're thinking of system.io from C#, right?
Probably.
Yeah, it goes a bit beyond that when we're playing with C++. So I need to be doing Fizz, Buzz, and then Fizz Buzz. All right, and then /n. We're getting Fizz Buzz. Got our Fizz Buzz. Yeah. This syntax right here threw me for such a loop when I first got started. Like, just give me a plus sign. What's wrong with you people? There we go. And within an hour time, we have translated C# into Python and C++. All right. This could be the start of your new C++ career. Seriously, if you guys start to dive into C++, I will be honest, it opens up doors to other internships, but it is also a more complex language to learn. If you have free time during the summer, I suggest diving into it. In fact, I'll probably talk a bit more about C++ as I learn it during the summer, because I don't believe in free time. Yeah. Does anyone
Hey,
have any
Will.
questions?
This is sort of off topic, but I was wondering for your one of your classes or like one of these workshops, can you teach us how to draw graphics in like a C# environment, or like I don't know, maybe Python, or I don't like any lower language other than HTML.
No, all graphics are done in HTML. Even like Overwatch is just done in HTML and Canvas.
Wait, so you're saying that like when it comes to like desktop applications, all of the UI and overlays, you can do that in, you're telling me HTML and JavaScript? What?
So I'm kidding. I'm sorry, I'm messing with you.
Okay.
It depends. No, you can, so you have a lot of different things going on, and I love it. So it depends. So first, the question should be like, what kind of complexity do you want with your graphics? What do you think you do? Are you thinking of just like circles? Tell me what you have in mind.
I just wanted to build a proper desktop app, and that's something that I feel like that we lacked so far in the associates program, you know? Like
I hear you. I hear
we've been using a lot of what you might call it, what Windows Form UI, and I feel like that's just drag and drop, and but we're not like really delving deeper into like maybe what if like we wanted to draw charts or like make our own custom UIs and whatnot.
That's a great question. So I will be forthright. I don't have those skills right off the bat, but I've worked with different tools. How
Yeah.
about let's look at the bigger question is we can see how to do that, but also let's take a look into different frameworks to really help accomplish that, because I think that's a great question, because WinForms are great when learning GUIs because they are just drag and drop, right? That being said, there are newer technologies, like they even have what is it? Let me look up visuals. There are other ways of doing it. There's more syntax based stuff. Like if you were to do you could do more graphically complex stuff in Android Studio using markup languages. I would say the most complex thing you could do is try to build like graphics just from scratch kind of thing, because there's a lot going on. But why don't we go ahead and see about taking a look into different frameworks that we can use. Let me ask you this. What is kind of your end goal? You're talking about GUIs. Would you like something that works on Windows? Are you talking about something that would work on phones, different mobile applications? What are you thinking?
I was thinking if you want something that like if you want to learn like one specific skill set, like for GUI that works on any devices, then you would naturally should tend towards Java then, right? Because like
So,
right?
so let me just click this really quickly before we get into that. So the bigger thing right now is
Okay, sorry.
no. There's no reason to be sorry at all. You're asking great questions. So Java's good. It'll work on anything that has WinForms, or not WinForms, but JVM, the Java Virtual Machine, right? But if you really wanted to be super robust these days, I would honestly suggest leaning more towards the JavaScript route. And the reason I'm saying this is because with things now like React, and how Java's expanded with Node.js and things like that, there's a reason that the mobile responsive app has really taken over a lot of territory, because while JavaScript, I would argue, is one of the most finicky languages, things like React allow you to do really robust visual applications, but also allow you to run on anything that has a browser, right? Because JavaScript will just run on a browser, and what doesn't have a browser these days? In fact, a lot of stuff are built even on a JavaScript framework, but they're still standalone applications that will run. So if you want to really look into creating robust GUIs, I would actually suggest looking into something like React, or even
Wait, so you're saying that a lot of these desktop apps that are like maybe based in C# or C++ or whatnot, right? You can build a GUI out of these with JavaScript and like React based, or like basically just JavaScript, like layered on top is what you're saying.
what I'm saying here is, what is the best way to build a GUI in C#?
Yeah, there we go. We have the Windows form again.
There you go. If you haven't been able to tell, everything you've ever done on C# is a Windows form. It's been changing, and also the reason I don't have the best answer to this right now is because there's what's known. Do you know what a tech stack is?
Sort of.
it's basically nowadays you don't just build something in one framework. You'll actually get a bunch of different frameworks and different technologies to work with one another to build a far larger project. So depending on who you want to ask or what you want to ask, you can do things like here. This one, obviously Microsoft is going to talk about doing things on with their what was it? It's WPF forms, which is the thing I opened up here, and it uses markup languages, which are not dissimilar from HTML and CSS and everything, right? So that's definitely a route you could go. But if you wanted something, what is it that you would like to build? Is it, in particular, is it a web app? Is it a game? What are you thinking?
Just nothing in particular. For me, like I feel like I'm pretty comfortable with my way around like just HTML and JavaScript, right? And I was wondering how I can like if like I would need to learn a completely new skill set if I wanted to build like full-fledged web apps like and have it also like doesn't not be just a pure console application, you know?
So this is a discussion. This is a discussion Josh and I have been talking about. .NET MAUI. If I said the name Xamarin to you, would you know what I'm talking about?
Zenram?
Mhm.
No, that doesn't mean anything to me.
No, that's fine. I am absolutely fine with that. So Xamarin was actually a wrapper language that was created years ago. And what it would do is when .NET, before the .NET Core came out, .NET Framework was specifically for Windows. In fact, it was detrimental to Microsoft's footprint because anyone who wanted to run on a Java system or a Linux, a Mac or a Linux system couldn't use .NET Framework. So they started to switch over to .NET Core. There's a problem when your stuff only works on one device. So someone created Xamarin, which was a wrapper for C# that would actually allow you to deploy to other OSs. Microsoft liked this. And what does Microsoft do when they like you? They buy you. So they bought Xamarin, and within the past year, they've actually turned it into .NET MAUI. But what .NET MAUI is, it allows you to use XAML, XAML. It's another markup language, and C#, and it allows you to develop more complex GUIs and applications using C#, but you can deploy on Android, iOS, Mac OS, and Windows.
Interesting. So the app is still built on C# though. And then does it get translated, or like is there some sort of, or like does it just run natively, or how does it work?
It doesn't run, I mean, it will basically, it's this wrapper around the C# that's basically translating it. So is it, if I were to run your app, let's say I built something for Android and I built it specifically for Android using Java or Kotlin, right? And then I built something using MAUI or Xamarin, it might not run as efficiently. But here, if I built something for Android using Android Studio and using Java, it would only be for Android Studio, right? Yeah. This would allow you to deploy to multiple iOSs with just your C# code.
Interesting. But there's got to be some issues with that too, right? So let's say your C# app uses a Microsoft Entity Frameworks. That's not available on Mac OS, so it's not going to be able to deploy there.
That's a great question, and I would have to dive further into it. And you're absolutely right. Like, you're starting to have these frameworks that are Windows specific. Yeah. So they're going to have to find workarounds for it, and for every workaround, it's going to be a little less efficient. Yeah. So those are all things to keep in mind.
Oh, right, because this is new. This article was published on the 21st of last month.
Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah. Like when I say Josh and I have been talking, we have been talking as of like 2 weeks ago. Yeah. So it's, for me, it serves a great purpose. Again, it's like just being able to develop for multiple operating systems and not have to worry about all this other stuff about different languages. For as a company, like if I can have one team, if I can have a team of 15 people working to develop this app that works, does 95% of what I want, instead of having two teams of 10 people developing completely separate apps for different things, this is the far more cost-effective route for me to go. You the point you make is spot on. There are going to be things that are specific to iOS's or technology that you can't quite implement yet. They might be working on it, or they might say, all right, well, you can't use the .NET Entity Framework, but we have this alternative, and or maybe they even created some wrapper code to link those two together. I'm not sure.
Yeah, we'll see. Have you checked out the new version of Visual Studio?
Oh,
Like they
2022.
rewrote it for Mac, yeah, 2022, and maybe it's something that they are potentially working on because like it runs really well.
That's wonderful. Can you create a window? Can you create a WinForm on it?
I haven't tried. I haven't worked on. I haven't done anything with WinForm since like programming 3 or something.
Yeah. I asked because it is one of the things where it's like you come into programming too, and all of a sudden it's like, I hope you have a Windows computer. It is like they've learned their lesson. They've learned they're not in an isolated bubble anymore, and they're rushing very hard to catch up. And let's face it, they're not the best at branding. I don't know if you guys ever heard of I don't know if it's a fiasco, but it is a funny story of how, the iPad was everywhere. And Microsoft wanted to get in on that sweet tablet space. So what they did was, they came out with the Surface and they went straight to the NFL and they gave everyone these Surface tablets to use instead of the iPads because they want all this promotion. The thing is, all the announcers weren't paying attention to that. So in the middle of games, they're like, oh yeah, the coach went to look at the iPad. And then Microsoft was getting really angry because they were getting no promotion. So like, no, you need to call it the Surface. The Microsoft Surface like integrated tablet and blah blah blah. It was this long thing. And so they told the announcers, and the announcers were just like,
They were like,
yeah.
what? How am I supposed to say this?
Yeah, they just called it the iPad like device.
Oh god.
Yeah, and then in the end, you would see all these coaches actually get really mad because the tablet wasn't nearly as good as the iPad. So you would see them destroying these things on the field. So yeah, Microsoft's trying to learn its lessons, but they are trying to play well with others. So I haven't been able to try out the new Visual Studio on Mac, but I really hope that they do. I really hope that it does work a lot better because a lot of people have Mac stuff.
Yeah.
And two, it's just like we have enough to deal with without having to compete on iOS's, right? I mean, come on. So, but that being said, I would definitely suggest for what you want to look into Maui right now,
Yeah.
because it does allow you to do like it basically will allow you to do like the ASP.NET kind of stuff. But using a cross-platform development rollout and using C#, because again, C# is my favorite language, so it's something to take a look into, and we can even talk a bit more about it during our summer bridge and see how things go.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I would like to see that.
Yeah, I would too. I'll even ping Josh and ask get his eyes on it, because that's really his baby, like working on these cross-platform things and full stack development. That being said, I have Unity. Unity actually allows you to do something similar. So I have created a small game in Unity, and with the same C# code, exported it to an HTML file and an Android file. All I had to do was switch build, and it built it to the device. And it's the best thing in the world. I love it so much.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Wait, so you were able to just deploy that Unity game on a browser?
I had to use some specific code for things I needed. Actually, for the browser one, the only hiccup was that like their new version didn't work very well. It didn't work as well as their old version.
Yeah.
But once I rolled back to like Unity 2019, all I literally said was export to WebGL, and you could put it online. I actually, and Hannah, I believe, is witness to it. I've hosted it on GitHub so she could go over and actually control it with the keyboard, and it used the same kind of inputs.
What did I do?
You saw me deploy something from Unity onto GitHub.
Oh yeah, that was awesome.
Very doable. Obviously not the most performant thing in the world. I'm not exactly throwing down a Hollow Knight.
Look, it worked.
It worked. Exactly. So yeah, this stuff's already out there, and I do love it. In fact, for my capstone, I created a dice rolling app, and the only thing I really had to look up was how to translate accelerometer motion from my phone into numbers I can work with on my app. Once I figured that out, it was smooth sailing. And it's honestly one of my favorite things to show off. It didn't take a whole lot of work, but it has a great visual effect. Sounds good. And I forgot if I have it vibrating the phone. If not, I could probably do that fairly easily now. So yeah, there's a lot of things you can have fun with. All right, let me go ahead. I will put this. I forgot if I already put it in chat here. Here's the Maui information. I will go ahead and post it online too. Are there any other questions anyone here has right now?
No, sorry, that like I kind of brought you on a tangent, but yeah, I was just wondering about like what's going on for this class or for this workshop.
No problem. In fact, I'm actually very glad you came in and you brought me on that tangent, because I could be sitting here talking programming 1 for the next 6 weeks. I know it's exciting, everyone, but I like this. I would rather have you ask questions and let's start to dive into these new techs and start to explore it, because also something I want you to get out of this class is I want you to start building your value so you can start thinking towards the future of going after that internship, going after that job. If you came out of these workshops building something on Maui and having a really cool app on your phone that you can show at an interview, I will consider that a success more than you knowing how to print out FizzBuzz in C++. So yeah, keep bringing it.
Awesome.
Can we program our own scientific calendar or calculator? God, a calendar, scientific calendar.
Calculators are a bitch.
Yes, I will not stop you from creating your own scientific calculator. Are you asking me to do a scientific
Oh,
calculator?
absolutely not. I'm just asking, like, is that in like realm of possibility?
Well, yeah. I mean,
My husband asked me and I was like, yeah, I don't see why not. I don't know all those calculations, but
I cried making just a standard stupid
right,
calculator.
exactly.
So I'd say one of the most impressive
What?
pieces of magic I've ever seen in this world is Symbolab, because you could literally write an equation and it will walk through the entire process of breaking down how they got the answer.
Hold on, I gotta make a note of this real quick.
This is magic to
I
me.
need that.
So
I built
yeah.
a JavaScript library that converts standard infix equations to postfix equations, so it makes it easier to make that scientific aspect of it.
Are you hearing this, Hannah?
Nice.
See,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
That's an interesting thing you bring up that we don't really touch on as much. I want to touch on more, especially during Bridge, is that frameworks do a lot of heavy lifting. So a lot of people who are getting started on projects are like, well, I have to learn how to completely build this from scratch. You don't need, and it's like there's someone out there that has learned how to has created a framework that has sped you up. One of my favorite frameworks that I love to tell people about, it's like if you want to do something graphically cool with JavaScript, 3.js, which is like allows you to do 3D graphics in JavaScript. Again, this is paramount to magic to me, and I am okay with this. This is all running in browser right now.
Oh yeah, I've read a little bit about this. It's really, I don't even know.
Right. So if you guys wanted to go to town and, you know, build your own framework from scratch, I am not going to stop you, but get comfortable looking at what other frameworks are out there to help you do what you need to do, and always build on the shoulders of giants. Because unless you plan to do something more efficient than 3.js, just let them do the heavy lifting for you.
Well, then my counter question to that is, how do you look at something? So how do you look at one and know you're like, hey, I need this, I want to use it? Like what do you do when you look for one?
It starts, for me, it tends to start with a destination. Like, what exactly am I looking to accomplish? And that's not an easy thing to always have to work with, right? Like sometimes, as you said, all right, you want to work with a scientific calculator, and David brought the Google answered straight to us, but it's like, so if I want to do start with a language and then start with what you want to do. Let's say JavaScript scientific, come on, make a JavaScript scientific calculator. And the thing is, sometimes if it's just practice, I'd say use what others have and scale up. But when it comes down to like framework, like you would be looking for specifically, how do I build advanced scientific calculator? Math.js. And then expanding from there. It would literally be me poking around. It's a very exploratory thing. I want to do something in this language, and sometimes it will be a single word on Stack Overflow where someone was like, I used this, and so I now Google this and I see it's a framework, and so then I start to pull in that framework and start to use stuff from that. That was the same way when I was doing that same dice rolling app. I didn't know, when I did the dice rolling app for Android, this was years ago, and when I did a search, I actually didn't find any information on how to get the accelerometer information on my Android. So Keynote, I also have to use my history at play. I had worked at a call center for Verizon Wireless years ago. That's how I knew I was looking. I knew about cell phones, and I knew it was the accelerometer that controlled all that feedback information. So that's how I knew how to even ask for accelerometer. When you're looking for your information, you might have to work backwards to get the right vocabulary to even move forward. So keep that in mind. But for me, I wanted to get that accelerometer information. And so I looked up things like how to get numbers using Unity from your phone, how to do this, how to do that. And there was nothing on Android. But on one Stack Overflow article, there was a single person who responded, this is how you do it on iOS. And I was like, if that's how you do it on iOS, I'm fairly certain I can get close with Android. So after just like diving in through some of their code, I was able to find the Android version and got that information I need. So it's just exploration. What have other people done? Even in the midst of an argument on Stack Overflow, as they're prone to have, you can still get tidbits of information on what kind of frameworks, things like that. There might also, David?
Yeah, I would also like to add, you can like if you find a framework that might work, like math.js, you can also just look at the documentation to see what it does specifically, and then make your decision there.
Yeah. Do the research, find out what something does, because it's never going to hurt you just to even know, because even if you don't use math.js, you now got it in your back pocket if you do need to use it for something, right? So yeah, absolutely. So what do you think, Hannah? How does that help you out at all?
Yeah, that was great.
Cool.
Perfect.
All right. So
And Hannah, look into infix to postfix conversions.
Okay.
infix to postfix. Yeah. Here we go. I've been posting things in chat. Dylan or Kristen, would you mind grabbing the things I've been posting in chat so that way we can add them to the website later?
Yeah. Save chat.
There we go. Yeah, that's awesome. And so what I heard through all of this is that Hannah is going to show off her scientific calculator later during Summer Bridge, and I cannot wait to see that.
That's probably not what's gonna fucking happen. I'll show you the one that I buy. But I'll show
Plagiarism.
you something cool, maybe. I don't know what yet, but we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. So
I'll do
that's
something this summer.
I think that's the most important phrase in any programming right there, is that we'll figure it out, because we've seen all this craziness that people do with code, and it can be really intimidating when you're still working with basic languages. But we can do anything, right? Like Pokemon Go still is a really impressive beast, and now people are cranking out their own just using a little bit of AR content, GPS. They probably just can use Unity's built-in AR information, and then they use Google Maps to pull GPS locations, which is just an API call, and then just have an if statement that says, if you're here and this is here, go into battle, and it throws in like a little game, right? And so we can just keep building up those little chunks and make it more robust. So yeah, we'll see how it plays out. So
Yeah,
what I'm
I'm
now
either
hearing is
gonna
Hannah's going to have
actually-
an AR scientific calculator.
Ooh, yeah, I don't know. I don't know about the scientific calculator. I was planning on doing either a calculator app, but then I figured that my kid really needs a fucking game to play. My only problem is that it's either gonna have to go on her fucking Amazon Fire tablet, which I don't even know what the fuck that would entail, or it's gonna have to go on my phone.
We'll figure that out. In fact, that's another thing we'll touch on. We'll actually continue the discussion David and I have been having about cross-platform development,
Yeah.
which is a really good one. And then also
that
depending on
discussion.
like if you want to do mobile applications or if you want to do game development or however you want to approach it. Because oddly enough, there's I believe it's called Electron. Let me see. Let's see now.
I guess the crossover of those two things would be mobile game development.
Mobile game development, yeah. It's
Is really weird though.
I mean, if you really want, we can go ahead and if you really want, we can go ahead and just make the rival to Diablo Immortal.
Oh, well, might be able to do that. I honestly hate phone games.
I've been addicted to an idle game recently. Here's another one for everyone. Electron.js for JavaScript. If you want to do a JavaScript deployment to a desktop app, Discord is built on it. A lot of different things are actually built on it. It's very powerful. So this is just another thing to keep in mind. We'll talk more about it later. In fact, David, I'm really glad you popped in. We have a lot to talk about now since you showed up, and I appreciate your attendance.
Yeah, for sure. I was wondering if I can catch you after all of this actually.
Yeah, no problem at all. It's actually 12:05 right now, so we'll be wrapping up. If anyone here or anyone else who watches this later on has any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me, wcram@rtc.edu. We'll continue to answer questions. Do code interview things. I'd like for us to get started on projects and really just kind of have fun. And so, yeah, you go enjoy your bright summer day, and I'm going to cut the recording feed right now. I'll talk to you all later.
Bye.